Chapter 1. The Night Everything Broke. I'm Clara Morgan, and if you're watching this, I need you to know something. The moment you think you're safe, that's when they come for you. 3 weeks ago, my life was a tightrope walk, balancing a career I'd bled for, a mortgage that haunted my dreams, and my son Ethan's epilepsy treatments. I was the Chief Strategy Officer at Vantage Innovations, a Seattle tech darling I'd helped grow from a garage startup to a $500 million zero-cents powerhouse. 10 years of late nights, missed school plays, and a divorce that left me raising Ethan alone. It was all worth it for the promise of stability. Until they pulled the rug out. If you've ever felt your world collapse in a single moment, you'll get this. If you haven't, stick around. You might need to. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Wednesday, rain hammering the glass walls of Vantage's 32nd floor boardroom. I'd been summoned for a quick sync with Richard Hale, Titan Corp's VP, a man whose smile was all teeth and no soul. Titan Corp had swallowed Vantage 6 months earlier in a $1,200 million zero-cents acquisition, and Hale was their hatchet man, sent to optimize us. I should have known something was wrong when my corporate phone buzzed with the meeting invite at 6 p.m., no agenda attached. But I was too busy putting out fires. Pacifica Systems CTO was threatening to pull their $20 million zero-cents contract. My team was down to 3 from 10, and Ethan's latest seizure had me up at 3 a.m. researching new meds. I walked into that room expecting another lecture on synergies. Instead, I got an execution. Hale sat at the head of the glass table, his Rolex glinting under the LED lights. Across from him was Jenna from HR, a mousy woman who avoided eye contact like it was a felony. The room smelled of stale coffee and betrayal. "Claire," Hale said, his voice smooth as a blade, "we've been reviewing your role." He slid a single sheet of paper across the table, the kind of crisp legal document that screams trouble. I picked it up, my hand steady despite the adrenaline spiking in my chest. The words hit like a punch: salary adjustment and role realignment. My $180,000 zero-cents salary, the one that kept Ethan's meds flowing and our Seattle bungalow from foreclosure, was slashed to $50,000 zero-cents. Effective immediately, my title demoted from Chief Strategy Officer to Regional Coordinator, a glorified paper pusher, reporting to some faceless drone in Titan Corp's Chicago HQ. I stared at the numbers, willing them to change. "This is a 70% cut," I said, my voice quieter than I meant. Hale leaned back, his smirk practically audible. "Market standards, Claire. Vantage's structure was unsustainable. Sign now or we'll freeze your accounts and sue for breach of duty." I blinked, the words not computing. "Freeze my accounts?" I repeated, like an idiot. Jenna shifted, finally looking up. "It's standard procedure for noncompliance," she mumbled, her pen tapping in nervous rhythm. I checked my phone. My corporate email app was locked, my Vantage ID badge deactivated. They'd planned this, locked me out before I even walked in. My mind raced. Ethan's neurologist appointments cost $800 zero-cents a month. His emergency inhalers $200 zero-cents a pop. Our mortgage $2,900 zero-cents due in 10 days. At $50,000 zero-cents, we'd be choosing between food and medicine by month 2. I thought of Ethan's face this morning, his serious brown eyes asking if I'd make his science fair next month. I'd promised him front row seats, maybe even a goofy sign. Now, I wasn't sure we'd have a home to come back to. "I need 24 hours, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. Hale's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "Tomorrow 9 a.m., don't test us." Jenna handed me a pen, but I pushed it back. "I said 24 hours. I stood, my legs like jelly, and walked out, feeling their stares burn into my back. The elevator ride down was a blur. I kept it together until I reached my car in the underground garage, the rain muffled by concrete walls. Then it hit. I collapsed into the driver's seat, sobs ripping through me, raw and ugly. My screams echoed, swallowed by the empty lot. I pounded the steering wheel until my hands ached, mascara streaking my face like war paint. 9 years of building Vantage, of knowing every client's birthday, of turning Pacifica Systems into our biggest account. I'd missed Ethan's first soccer goal, canceled our only vacation to fix a server crash, stayed late while my ex ran off to Bali with some life coach named Lotus. All for this, a piece of paper that said I was worth nothing. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it, a text from an unknown number. They're watching. Meet me tomorrow, Pier 57, 10 p.m. K. I froze, my breath catching. Watching? Who? I checked my mirrors, half expecting to see Hale's goons lurking in the shadows. The garage was empty, but the hairs on my neck stood up. I shoved the phone in my purse, then noticed something else, a weight in the side pocket. I pulled out a USB drive, black and unmarked except for 2 words scratched into the plastic. Vantage Secrets. My heart stopped. I hadn't put it there. Someone had slipped it into my bag, maybe in the boardroom, maybe earlier. I turned it over, the metal cold against my fingers. Corporate espionage? A trap? I didn't know, but it felt like a bomb ticking in my hand. I drove home in a daze, the Seattle skyline blurring through the rain. Vantage had been my life since I was 28, a scrappy startup in a converted warehouse with ping-pong tables and dreams of changing the world. I'd joined as a client manager, fresh off a divorce that left me with a toddler and a mountain of debt. Vantage was my lifeline. I worked my ass off, climbing to Chief Strategy Officer by 35. I secured clients like Pacifica Systems and Orion Global, accounts that brought in 65% of our revenue. I knew their systems, their pain points, their kids' names. When Ethan's dad bailed, those relationships became my anchor, proof I could provide for my son, that I wasn't a failure. Vantage's founder, Lila Carter, called us a family. She promised equity, a future. I believed her. Then Titan Corp came, a $1,200,000,000 0 cents acquisition, announced in a glitzy all-hands meeting. Lila stood on a makeshift stage, gushing about scaling our vision. I noticed she couldn't meet our eyes. Later I learned why. She'd pocketed $50 million, 0 cents, and retired to Napa Valley, leaving us with stock worth pennies and contracts rewritten to screw us over. Titan Corp moved fast. New logos, new rules, new faces, like Hale, who'd gutted 3 companies before us. The first layoffs hit the juniors, then middle management. Desks emptied overnight, no goodbyes. My team shrank from 10 to 3. Javier, May, and Sam, all terrified but loyal. I thought I was safe. I managed our biggest accounts. They needed me, right? I pulled into my driveway, the bungalow's porch light flickering. Ethan was asleep, the babysitter waiting. I paid her, checked on my son, his chest rising and falling, his inhaler on the nightstand, a science fair ribbon pinned to his wall. "I'll fix this," I whispered, my voice cracking. Back in the kitchen, I opened my laptop, hands shaking. I plugged in the USB, half expecting it to fry my system. A password prompt appeared. I tried Vantage, Titan Corp, Lila. Nothing. I slammed the laptop shut, my pulse racing. Who was Kay? What did they know, and why me? Sleep didn't come. I lay awake, replaying Hale's smirk, the USB's weight, the text's warning. By 5 a.m. I was back at my laptop, digging. I found an old Vantage contract, my original, signed a decade ago. No non-compete clause. Lila's idealism had left a loophole. One Titan Corp hadn't closed. It was a lifeline, but a thin one. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. At 7 a.m. I dropped Ethan at school, hugging him tighter than usual. "You okay, Mom?" he asked, his brown eyes searching mine. "I will be," I said, praying I wasn't lying. By 9 a.m., I was back at Vantage. No, Titan Corp Regional Office 12, a sterile tower that used to feel like home. I had a plan: stall Hale, meet Kay, decode the USB. But as I stepped into the elevator, my phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. Don't go to the office, they know. My stomach dropped, too late. The doors slid open and Hale was waiting, his smile colder than ever. Claire, he said, we need to talk. Now. I stood frozen in the elevator, Richard Hale's voice slithering through the air like smoke. Claire, we need to talk now. His eyes gleamed with that predator's certainty, the kind that says he's already won. My phone burned in my pocket, the anonymous text screaming in my head. Don't go to the office. They know. But the doors had already opened and there was no turning back. I forced a smile, the kind I'd perfected in a decade of client meetings, and stepped out. Of course, Richard, lead the way. The 32nd floor was a ghost town, the open-plan office dim under flickering LEDs. Vantage's old kombucha taps and ping-pong table were gone, replaced by Titan Corp's sterile cubicles. My team, Javier, May, and Sam, was nowhere in sight, their desks eerily tidy. Hale gestured to a glass-walled conference room, the same one where he'd slid that cursed contract across the table last night. Jenna from HR was already inside, clutching a folder like a shield. I sat, my purse heavy with the USB drive labeled Vantage Secrets. My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank. Whatever Hale knew, I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me crack. Let's cut to it, Hale said, leaning forward, his Rolex ticking like a bomb. You didn't sign the new terms, that's a problem. I tilted my head, buying time. I asked for 24 hours. It's been 12. What's the rush? His smirk faltered, just for a second. The rush, Claire, is that your role is critical. Pacifica Systems, Orion Global, they're asking questions. We need you locked in. I almost laughed. Locked in? They'd slashed my salary by 70%, demoted me to a glorified assistant, and locked me out of my own email. This wasn't about need. This was about control. Jenna cleared her throat, sliding the contract toward me again. We've adjusted the terms slightly, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I glanced at the paper. The salary was now $55,000, 0 cents. Still a gut punch from $180,000, 0 cents. And the title, unchanged, a $5,000, 0 cents bribe to make me feel grateful. Generous, I said, my tone dripping with venom I couldn't quite hide. Hale's eyes narrowed. We're also prepared to waive the breach of duty clause if you sign now, otherwise we'll have to escalate. Escalate? A polite word for freezing my bank accounts, suing me into oblivion or worse. I thought of Ethan, his inhaler on the nightstand, his science fair ribbon pinned to the wall. I couldn't lose him, not to this. I need until 9 a.m. tomorrow, I said, standing. As agreed. Hale's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Don't play games, Claire. You're not as untouchable as you think. I walked out, my legs shaking, feeling the weight of his stare. In the elevator, I checked my phone again. No new texts, but the first one from Kay glowed like a warning. Pier 57, 10 p.m. It was 9:15 AIJ. I had 13 hours to figure out who Kay was, what the USB held, and how to keep Titan Corp from crushing me. I drove to a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, a gritty little place with mismatched chairs and baristas who didn't care about my smeared mascara. I ordered a double espresso, my hands trembling as I plugged the USB into my laptop. The password prompt mocked me. I tried, Titan Corp 2025, Hale sucks, even Ethan. Nothing. I was about to give up when a notification pinged. My personal email, not the locked corporate one. A message from an encrypted sender. Check your contract. Article 7. K. My breath caught. Whoever K was, they knew my situation. I opened my old Vantage contract, a PDF buried in my cloud drive. Article 7. Notice periods and non-compete agreements. There it was. In Lila Carter's idealistic legalese, no non-compete clause. If I quit, Titan Corp couldn't stop me from working for a competitor. A lifeline, but a dangerous one. If Hale suspected I was planning to jump ship, he'd bury me in lawsuits. Or worse. The day dragged, a blur of paranoia and planning. I picked Ethan up from school at 3 p.m., his backpack slung over one shoulder. "Mom, you look weird," he said, climbing into the car. I forced a laugh. "Just tired, buddy. How was science?" He launched into a story about his volcano experiment, and for a moment I could pretend we were normal. But as we pulled into our driveway, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street, its windows tinted. It didn't move, but I felt watched. I hustled Ethan inside, locking the door behind us. "Stay away from the windows," I said, trying to sound casual. He frowned but nodded, sensing my edge. By 9 p.m., Ethan was asleep, his inhaler within reach. I slipped into jeans and a dark hoodie, the USB tucked in my pocket. Pier 57 was a 20-minute drive, a touristy waterfront spot with a Ferris wheel and overpriced crab shacks. At night, it was a maze of shadows, perfect for a clandestine meeting. Or an ambush. I parked 2 blocks away, rain slicking my hair as I walked. The pier was deserted, the Ferris wheel dark, its neon lights off for the season. My sneakers squelched on wet wood as I scanned the darkness. "Kay?" I whispered, my voice swallowed by the lapping waves. A figure emerged from behind a shuttered food stand, tall and lanky, face hidden under a baseball cap. "Claire?" The voice was male, nervous. I nodded, my hand tightening around the pepper spray in my pocket. He stepped closer, the dim streetlight catching his face. Kieran Walsh, a Vantage coder who'd quit 6 months ago after the acquisition. I'd liked him. Quiet, brilliant, always tinkering with our AI algorithm. "Kieran? What the hell is this?" I hissed, holding up the USB. He glanced around, his eyes darting. "Not here. They're watching." "Who's they?" I demanded. But before he could answer, headlights flared at the end of the pier. A black SUV, maybe the same one from my street, idled, its engine growling. Kieran grabbed my arm. "Run!" We bolted, ducking behind a stack of crates. My heart slammed against my ribs as footsteps echoed, heavy and deliberate. 2 figures, masked, moved through the shadows, their silhouettes bulky with what looked like tactical gear. "She's here," one muttered, his voice low. I clamped a hand over my mouth, stifling a gasp. Kieran pulled me toward a shipping container, its door ajar. We slipped inside, the metal cold and damp, and crouched in the dark. The footsteps stopped. A flashlight beam swept the pier, slicing through gaps in the container's walls. "Check the water," the second voice said. I held my breath, Kieran's hand gripping mine. Minutes stretched like hours until the SUV's engine roared and faded. We waited, silent, until Kieran whispered, "They're gone. For now." I rounded on him. "What's on the USB? Why are they after me?" He swallowed, his face pale. "Titan Corp selling Vantage's AI to a foreign buyer. Illegal. National security level illegal. The USB has proof. Emails, contracts, blacklists. I slipped it to you because you're the only one they can't ignore." I stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. Vantage's AI, the one I'd helped market to clients like Pacifica, was cutting edge, capable of predictive analytics that could shift global markets. Selling it to a hostile entity wasn't just corporate greed, it was treason. "Why me?" I asked, my voice shaking. Kieran's eyes met mine. "Because you've got Pacifica and Orion. If you go public, they'll listen. Titan Corp knows it. That's why they're trying to break you." I thought of Hale's smirk, the contract, the SUV. This wasn't just about a pay cut. They wanted me silenced. Kieran handed me a slip of paper with a phone number. "Call this. It's a hacker I know. She can crack the USB. But Claire, be careful. They've done worse than freeze accounts." I nodded, my mind racing. "Where are you going?" He shook his head. "Somewhere they can't find me. If you need me, leave a message at the Dead Drop Bar, Belltown. Ask for ghost. He slipped out of the container, vanishing into the rain. I waited 10 minutes, then ran to my car, my pulse still hammering. The Pierre was empty, but I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me. I drove home, checking my rearview every 10 seconds. Ethan was still asleep, the house quiet except for the hum of the fridge. I locked every door, wedged a chair under the knob, and sat at the kitchen table, the USB in one hand, Kieran's number in the other. My laptop glowed, the contract's Article 7 open on the screen. No non-compete. I could quit, join a competitor like Nexus Dynamics, take my clients with me, but Titan Core wasn't playing by rules. They'd tampered with my life, maybe my car, maybe my home. I thought of Ethan's seizure last month, the hospital bill I'd barely paid. If they cut my insurance, he'd suffer. If they sued, we'd lose everything. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. You met him. Good. Don't trust anyone. I deleted it, my hands shaking. Trust no one? Not Javier, May, or Sam? Not Tara, my old Vantage friend who texted me yesterday asking how I was holding up? I opened LinkedIn, searching for Nexus Dynamics. Elena Voss, their CEO, had messaged me a year ago, offering a VP role. I'd ignored it, loyal to Vantage. Now I typed a reply. Interested in a conversation, tomorrow? I hit send before I could overthink it. By 3 a.m., I was still awake, the USB a cold weight in my palm. I hid it in Ethan's old Lego box, the one place no one would look. Tomorrow I'd face Hale, stall for time, meet the hacker, maybe call Voss. But Kieran's words haunted me. They've done worse. I thought of the SUV, the masked men, the note I hadn't found yet but feared was coming. Back off, or Ethan pays. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was Ethan's future, my team's survival, a truth that could shake an industry. I wasn't a hero. I was a single mom with a mortgage and a kid who needed me. But I was done being their pawn. As dawn broke, gray and heavy over Seattle, I made a promise to myself, to Ethan, to the Vantage we'd lost. They thought they could break me, bury me in their glass towers. They were wrong. I'd fight, not just for my worth, but for the truth, even if it cost me everything. Because sometimes the only way out is through the fire. I'm Claire Morgan, and if you're still here, you know what it's like to stand on the edge, heart racing with everything to lose. That night on Pier 57 changed me. It wasn't just about a pay cut or a shady corporation. It was about realizing I'd given a decade to people who saw me as a line item, not a life. I don't know what's on that USB, not yet, but I know it's bigger than me, bigger than Ethan, bigger than the house we might lose. I'm scared. God, I'm terrified, but I'm not running, not anymore. If you're watching this, maybe you're fighting your own battle, a job that grinds you down, a system that says you're not enough. Don't let them win. Find your loophole, your USB, your Kieran, and when they push you, push back. Hard. Hit like, subscribe, tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this, because tomorrow I'm walking back into that tower and I'm not signing a damn thing.